If you're fasting and still gaining weight, Ramadan, it ain't your metabolism. It is your post-iftar to bedtime routine that's causing the weight gain. I'm going to explain exactly how this comes about and give you the fix. So this year, you don't gain weight. In fact, you lose weight in Ramadan. So very quickly, before I go into it, it's important that you guys understand exactly what's going on here, right? So for most people, when it comes to Ramadan, they are fasting and then they just want to eat everything in sight. And that's a bit of a problem because you're going from not having a lot of food, you're going to be hungry, and then you break your fast and then you're going to eat everything in sight. Calories add up. Number two, for suhoor, people don't really eat much. They might just drink a little bit of water and that's just about it. So that's where hunger levels are going to ramp up significantly. And number three, the foods that you eat are not overly filling. So there are 4 rules I want you to follow. I promise you, if you follow these, you'll be just fine. We use this with clients every single year and it works tremendously well. So the first rule, I'm sure you're going to get bored of hearing this, is protein first. This needs to be a non-negotiable. For iftar, for suhoor, or as a snack, make sure there's a source of protein there for obvious reasons, because protein is satiating, it's going to protect the muscle, because if your goal in Ramadan is to maintain your progress, perhaps you were exercising before Ramadan, you don't want all your muscle to waste away, so protein is going to be a wonderful protector because that's the role of protein, right? Rule number 2 is hydration has a strategy. It's not a case of putting in some electrolytes and some hydration powders. You get these pouches and you put in there and you're going to be just fine. No, there is a specific strategy you want to follow when it comes to hydration. You cannot just glug all your water and then hope for the best or think you can take a pouch and that's it. Rule number 3 is carbs are based on your goal almost. So if fat loss is a goal, if muscle tissue maintenance is a goal, if gaining weight is a goal, carbs need to be placed quite smartly in the month of Ramadan. And rule number 4, something I was guilty of in my early days, is dessert plays a role, but you can't wing it. You got to make sure you're strategic about desserts because this is where calories add up significantly. Right, so let's give you a practical example, right? So we've got to keep the opening simple. So what I say to everyone is break your fast light. Do not go straight in for the kebabs, the shami kebabs, the samosa, the spring rolls, because the moment you do that after a long fast, you are going to feel quite stuffed, meaning when you pray, obviously, when you pray Maghrib, you're going to be quite stuffed and full. You come back, you're not going to want to probably eat much. So there's a little bit of under eating happening there. Then you'll see hunger peak maybe an hour or 2 later, then you binge and snack on things. So keep it light. What works well a lot of the times with our clients is some water and some dates, or to the next level, a protein shake and a bit of fruit. Works very well, light on the stomach as well. The body doesn't need to work that hard. You go and pray, you come back and you have your main meal. So when you're having your main meal, the rule really is making sure you've got protein. Now, for most meat eaters, it's generally not a problem. So people in Ramadan don't really have much of a problem with protein. It's more about the amount, because what they see is if they have tandoori chicken or roast chicken, they'll maybe have a little bit, but there'll be lots of rice, there'll be lots of chips or fries for you guys in America and Canada. There'll be mashed potatoes, there'll be roti. A lot of that's going to take over because that's far tastier, right? So this year what I want you to do is I want you to have a little bit more of the chicken, right? A little bit more of the meats, because that's what's going to allow you to keep fuller to the point where at dessert time, you may not be feeling much, or you might have just a little bit. Very important. And secondly, obviously, it's going to protect muscle. And no matter what age you are, muscle is important. Don't think it's just for young people. No, if you want to ward off, aging, and if you want to make it as slow as possible, and you want to maintain muscle tissue so that you don't have issues with your bones later in life, and you want to keep your metabolism nice and steady, if you will, then you got to make sure you increase your protein. It's not going to make you go big, don't worry. So with iftar, protein, a bit more carbs, some fats. Don't worry about the veggies too much, because it's the one time I would say you don't have to stress about vegetables, because you're not going to be able to drink a lot of water anyway. So I've seen people, increase their intake of veggies in the month of Ramadan and get quite blocked up the following day. So have a little bit, but don't worry about it too much. I would say Ramadan is more of time to have more fruits as opposed to vegetables. Now, something I do want to talk about is post-iftar. This is where most people tend to kind of fall by the wayside. Some of you might get offended by this, but it's tradition now for most people. You break your fast, you have a large iftar, and then it's time to have some sweets and some goodness. You don't have to do that. If you're full, avoid it. If other people on the table are having it, have some if you want, but do not feel pressured. That's not what Ramadan is about. So if you don't want to have anything post-iftar, you don't have to get on with the day. You can perhaps bank those calories for later if you wanted, or as I'll be speaking about in a second, if your goal is weight loss, then skipping dessert and sweet stuff is going to work in your favor. Now here's a danger zone, right? This is where everyone slips up. When it comes to your evening prayers, when it comes to post Isha and Tarawih, this is where people go wrong. You get peckish, right? It's a fairly long prayer. You're going to be praying quite a bit. So you're going to want to come home, or or you want to go in the kitchen and you want to pick on things. And this is a bit of a time where people don't pay attention to the calories because they're just, they're picking on things and overeating. And in your head, you're thinking, okay, I've fasted all day, I can consume all this food. What you don't realize is if you're having, and one of my weaknesses was these chocolate covered cashews and almonds, if you're having a handful of that, that's around 150 to 200 calories. Easy. Now, if you look at it, it ain't much. So you got to be very mindful of that. Another thing I did was peanut butter. A tablespoon of that can be anywhere between 150 to 200 calories, and a tablespoon is not much. So post Tarawih, you want to be prepared. So this is where I would recommend having, I'm not a huge fan of these outside of Ramadan, but in Ramadan they can help. These pre-made bars, granola bars, protein bars, they can be very helpful because it'll just stop you from overeating on junk food. And these things are quite filling, provided you get ones that have got a little bit of fiber in them as well. Now, two of my favorite ones are boiled eggs and Greek yogurt. I know, sounds boring, right? But let's make it more fun. This is the bloody problem for most people. If you have Greek yogurt, have some honey in it, makes it sweet. I don't know a single person on the planet who doesn't like having honey on their yogurt. It's going to make it taste good, and Greek yogurt naturally is quite high in protein. Boiled eggs is kind of like the next step up because you've got some healthy fats in there as well, which will keep you feeling quite full, and eggs are essentially full protein. So that's two little snacks I would recommend having. And if you really want to take it one step further, mash down your boiled eggs and add a little bit of light mayo, some chives, salt and pepper, and put them on some rice cakes or something like that. Delicious. Now, suhoor is obviously the most important part because this is where most people go wrong. I would recommend that you have something for suhoor. The reason people don't feel hungry, and they say this to me all the time, they say, I don't feel hungry for suhoor, that's because what you had eaten for iftar, post iftar, before and after Tarawih was rubbish. And that's why you've stuffed yourself to the point where you're not really wanting to have much for suhoor. If you pace yourself and you have decent quality food, by the time you get to suhoor, you're going to want to eat something. And that's important because it means that when you wake up, you're not absolutely starving, and it's going to allow you to sustain your energy better. So this is where I would recommend some carbs, but protein and fats, because protein and fats are best friends when it comes to digestion, because fats and protein pair together, it's going to slow down digestion in the body. So if you're having a protein source, don't make the mistake of having a protein shake thinking that's it. No, that's going to get absorbed quite quicker. I would have, like, if you've not had eggs earlier in the day, have eggs. If you've not had Greek yogurt earlier, have some flax or chia seeds in there, some nut butters, some fats to slow digestion down. Or one of my favorite ones is porridge. So I would have porridge, not too much, and then I would scoop of protein powder in there, some peanut butter in there, very old school stuff. And it genuinely kept me quite full. And I'm a very hungry person all the time. But by the time it came to kind of 12, 1, 2 p.m, that's when my hunger would start to kick in, which is actually quite impressive. So make sure you have something for suhoor. If you do not, it means you're going to eat everything in sight. People don't realize this, and that's why you don't have suhoor. You get so hungry when it comes to iftar the following day, you'll eat everything in sight, you'll stuff yourself, and then by the time it comes to suhoor, you're too stuffed, you don't eat, and that cycle repeats. So here's the plan, right? If your goal is fat loss, it's very simple. Keep protein uber high, keep carbs minimal, keep them sensible, maybe only have them for iftar time, and then keep your fats pretty moderate as well, okay? Because it's going to allow you to achieve a caloric deficit a lot easier. And it does mean, unfortunately, you can't be having too many spring rolls and samosa, especially if they're deep fried. If you want to maintain your weight, then just eat sensibly, have some carbs, have some protein, have some fats. I would say don't stress too much about calories, because if you notice after a week or so your weight's going up, that's usually a bit of a sign that you're probably eating too heavy. And a lot of that is going to be water weight. Obviously, I appreciate it's not going to be fat, but you want to pay attention to your body. If you notice after a week or so, your clothes are fitting tighter, that's probably a good indication that you're gaining a teeny bit of body fat. And chances are the first week of iftars and everything in between is very high calorie. So for maintenance mode, keep it sensible. If the goal is weight gain, well, you guys are having a bit of fun, and that's going to be me this year. So I would say increase your fats, have a bit more carbs, but fats are your best friend. Okay, so I would snack on things like almonds and cashews in between your meals, because it's quite easy to get in a fair amount of calories with those. Now, what I would recommend is making sure that you take photos week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. Now, I know that sounds like a lot, and if you don't want to do that, perfectly fine. All right, if you can get by with Ramadan by just following some of those tips. But if you want to maintain, lose or gain, and you want to stay on top of your physique, I would strongly recommend taking photos. Now, obviously, this is going to be a bit tricky because normally most people need to take photos first thing in the morning when you're empty stomach. In this case, it's not going to be the case, obviously, because you'll have had food maybe 3, 4, 5 hours before. So the best time to take progress photos in Ramadan will be before iftar time, okay? Because that's going to be where you're going to be at your most fasted state, and that's going to probably be an accurate reflection of your morning weight if it wasn't Ramadan. Take photos, observe yourself each week. And I promise you, if you follow this approach and take on board some of those tips, I'm sharing with you what we do with our clients, you're going to be just fine. It's about being sensible. And the thing is, right, you know all this. What I've told you, you might have considered a waste of time because you know all this. So why are you not doing it? Now, intermittent fasting obviously is difficult, whether it's in Ramadan or any other time of the year. People fall victim to a few things. So I wanted to share some more tips with you to ensure that you can get the most from it. So I actually did a video specifically dedicated to the protocol of intermittent fasting, whether it's within Ramadan or out with. So before you go, check that video out, and in the description there's a completely free Ramadan guide. It's our most popular one every single year. We redo it, we make it better, and it's for you. It's completely free. Check it out and you're going to have ideas coming out of your ears for iftar, for suhoor, for snacking. So if you don't want to rewatch this video again, go over there, download the guide, it's all yours, and have fun with it. I'll speak to you guys soon.